Of this selection panel. It's a pleasure having you, and congratulations for being shortlisted. You do have a pen and a notebook there for you to note whatever you may feel like you want to do. There's even water. I want to invite my colleagues to introduce themselves to you. Then after that, we will come to you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rotich.
Good afternoon to you.
My name is 𝐒𝐢𝐥𝐚𝐬. I serve this panel as the Vice Chair. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you for this interview session. Karibu.
Silas, ujambo?
Sijambo.
Naitwa Andrew Tanui, mwanachama wa jopo hili la uteuzi, na karibu.
Asante.
𝐒𝐢𝐥𝐚𝐬, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Caroline Kituko, karibu.
Asante.
Good afternoon, Silas.
Good afternoon to you.
My name is Adam Solo, a member of the selection panel.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Rotich.
Good afternoon.
My name is Nicodemus Boy. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rotich.
Good afternoon to you.
My name is Fatima Ali Saman, a member of the panel. Please feel welcome.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. 𝐒𝐢𝐥𝐚𝐬.
Good afternoon to you.
Karibu sana. My name is 𝐒𝐢𝐥𝐚𝐬, and I'm a member of the panel.
Asante.
Good afternoon, Cyrus.
Good afternoon.
My name is Evan Simisati. I'm a member of the selection panel, and we welcome you.
Thank you.
Members of the gallery, welcome for the interview. Also, you can participate by watching and listening in. We want to ask you, Bwana 𝐒𝐢𝐥𝐚𝐬, to introduce yourself and mention those things that are important for the role that you have applied for, and that part of your profile that you think is important for us to know. I also wish to ask that you mention if you're a member of any professional society and if you have received any award. Proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman and distinguished members of this panel, first of all, let me thank you most sincerely for giving me this opportunity to have this conversation at this late afternoon. I consider it a privilege. I know the task has not been easy. Many of us placed applications for this particular position, and so I want to thank you for that. My name is Silas Rotich 𝐒𝐢𝐥𝐚𝐬. I come from �ㄇ Gishu County, specifically 𝐒𝐤𝐶 constituency, but originally from Ainabkoi, both of them in 𝐿𝐶 Gishu. I'm a holder of a master's degree in strategic management from the from the Catholic University of Eastern Africa. I'm also a graduate of Moi University, a bachelor's degree in education science. I graduated in the year 2001, having done mathematics and chemistry. Before that, I was a student of Chebisas Boys High School, one of the finest institutions in my home county, a school that gave me very, very important qualities of hard work, discipline, and honesty. I keep remembering the words of my school principal, the late Mr. Musau, who used to tell us that a school is a place where responsible citizens are nurtured. And I can pride myself as having come from that particular institution. Before my high school, I was in Anna Sense Primary School, a place in Burn Forest, very cosmopolitan. And right from my young age, I was able to interact with the diversity of our country. Mr. Chairman, I began my career journey as a teacher. I went back to the same school, which I was a student. And for 1 year before I was posted by the TSC to teach mathematics and chemistry. I grew in the teaching profession. I was able to rise through the various ranks in school, and I exited as a deputy principal in the year 2012. My 10 years experience of teaching, I was able to interact a lot with parents, especially when I came to the Office of Academics and Discipline and the Deputy Principal's Office, and also with students. And I was able to hone my skills of public administration at that tender age. 1 year before I exited teaching, I was privileged to undertake a course by one Christian organization. They call themselves Sandolas Leadership Training Institute, which trains on servant leadership, a course that took 6 months, and I was given a certificate having satisfied the requirements of that particular training. In this training, the emphasis were 2 things. One was skills. The other one was integrity. We quoted, if you allow me, from a scripture that says, David led them by the integrity of his heart and the skillfulness of his hands. And I was able to pick that up. And in 2012, I joined the IEBC. From 2012 up to now, that is the institution that I have worked. I joined as a constituency elections coordinator, a registration officer, and as a returning officer. I was first posted to Bungoma County, specifically a constituency called Kabuchai. My first assignment was to undertake the first biometric voter registration, which was just being introduced in the year 2012. Within a span of 6 months, we were getting ourselves ready to conduct the first elections under the new constitution in March 4th, 2013. I was able to put up teams, train the election officials, and conduct that election, and picked up very useful lessons. Having been the first election, the first 6 elections in the country, all the challenges that came with it, we were able to pull through. Fast forward, I was posted to 𝐒𝐢𝐥𝐚𝐬 constituency in the year 2015 in the same capacity. And my role there was to be able to coordinate the activities of the commission at the constituency level and conduct registration. We had 2 mass voter registration exercises. And in 2017, when the team that just left the Chebukati Commission came, they reorganized the structure of the commission and created offices for county election managers. I applied and I was interviewed and I was successful. I was therefore promoted to be a county elections manager and was posted in April to the county of Nakuru. Mr. Chairman, I arrived in Nakuru, and within 1 week, we were getting ourselves ready to receive nomination forms from candidates who are then going to run for the 2017 elections, and all the many other activities that are related to that process. I was able to manage that county very well. Nakuru County is the 3rd largest county in the country in terms of number of registered voters, the number of polling stations, and there are so many logistical issues that come up with that. I was also able to coordinate the 11 constituencies, all the officers that were working under me. And on the same note, I was the one in charge of the commission resources at the county. That includes supply chain and everything else that goes with that. I worked in Nakuru, and it was a very interesting experience. Managed to conduct a lot of stakeholder meetings. Some of them were to deal with security issues. Others were to deal with just the faith-based organizations, political parties, and many other groups. And after that election, I continued to work in Nakuru up to the year 2022, when we were again reshuffled, and I was sent to Nandi County on the same responsibility of county elections manager, and of course also the county returning officer. I worked with the same zeal and determination, and Mr. Chairman, it will be important to note that after that election, myself and a number of other returning officers received what we call in IEBC the Chairman's Award because of outstanding leadership in the conduct of the elections of 2022. While at IEBC, I have been able to attend very many skill enhancement trainings, professional trainings, and other workshops that have enhanced my competencies. Let me just mention three, Chairman. One is what I would call Management of Democratic Elections in Africa. This is a course that is offered in the Institute of African Renaissance Studies in South Africa, working in partnership with the University of South Africa. It is a 6-month course that brings together people from different EMBs, civil society groups, just to look at how we can be able to enhance the management of our elections. The second training, Chairman, which I have attended is what we call Bridge, Building Resources in Democracy, Governance, and Elections. I've been privileged to undertake 3 modules in that particular training, and it has enriched my capacity in election management. And finally, Chairman, I've also undertaken 2 very senior courses in the Kenya School of Government, a senior management course, and a strategic leadership development course. Mr. Chairman, I'm aware of the magnitude of what I'm asking this committee to give me, and I am fully persuaded that I have the competencies, I have the ethical leadership that is needed, I have the integrity that is required, and I believe that given an opportunity, I will bring my experience, I will bring the courage that I have developed over time, the resilience, and be able to push our democracy forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Linda, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. RUTO, reflecting on your career journey so far, what key competencies beyond a educational background would you draw on to assist you in the execution of your mandate in the event you're taken up as a commissioner, beyond education?
Thank you so much, Madam Linda. Yeah, beyond education, one of the key competence that I bring here is a very rich experience in election management. I have, in the last 13 years, been able to interact with the various motions that revolve around the management of elections, right from the pre-election phase all the way to post-election phase. The second skill that I bring on board is management skills, right from the time when I was a teacher. And for the last 13 years in the commission, I've been able to engage myself in management, in being able to organize teams, plan, coordinate, and ensure that tasks are implemented very well. I also bring in the skill of public administration, right from training in college and also working in the commission, interacting with members of the public, and being able to undertake my responsibilities in a manner that befits a public servant. I believe that I have the skills of public administration. I also bring in leadership skills. I sit in 3 boards back down there in the village. I'm a board member of 2 secondary schools, 𝐒𝐢𝐥𝐚𝐬 Girls and another one called 𝐒𝐢𝐥𝐻𝑡𝑚𝑜. I'm also a board member in the church where I go, and we have been able to deal with issues of providing leadership in those institutions. But even right here at the commission, as a county elections manager, I'm tasked with leading the work of the commission in that particular institution. The last 13 years have given me 3 other important skills. The work of elections require that you become competent in ICT skills. All the technologies that we are employing and using, I have familiarized myself with them. I'm privileged to be part of the trainers in the commission, and therefore there's that extra need for me to be able to equip myself with the ICT skills, with legal skills as well. Slowly, as we conduct these elections, we are finding ourselves almost becoming paralegals, because everything about elections really is about the law. And of course, when I was appointed as an accounting officer with delegated powers in the county, I had to again get financial skills and accounting skills so that I'm able to manage the resources at the county. But one big skill which I bring on board also is communication skills. My interaction with stakeholders in the various counties that I have worked, I have discovered that when you work with them and you communicate properly to them, then definitely it brings in the element of believability and credibility of our election results.
Thank you very much, sir, and I wish you the very best. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to ask Carol to ask you some questions, noting that you have become a paralegal.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Kipruto.
Yes, Madam Carol.
The IBC has the mandate to carry out referendums in Kenya. What are the key circumstances that require a referendum under the Constitution?
Thank you so much, Madam Carol. Chairman, I believe I'm audible. Okay, thank you. So you are right, actually, that the IEBC is given that mandate to conduct a referendum in Kenya. And there are various instances in which we can be able to conduct a referendum in the country when there is a need to amend the Constitution. There are two ways in which the Constitution can be amended, either by parliamentary initiative or by popular initiative. The Constitution requires that where a matter that is being amended touches on the protected clauses, then it should go beyond whatever decisions Parliament make. It has to get to the people, and a referendum has to be conducted. So basically, my take is you conduct a referendum for those clauses that are protected, if it is a parliamentary initiative, and if it is a popular initiative, then it still has to go all the way for a referendum.
What are the protected clauses? Can you mention four of the protected clauses?
Thank you. One of the protected clauses is the sovereignty of Kenya is a protected clause. The independence of the judiciary is also one of the clauses. The Chapter 15 commissions is also a protected clause. Article 10, the elements that are found in Article 10 are also part of the protected clauses.
All right. So what's the procedure and what's the mandate of the IBC, particularly when carrying out referendum?
Thank you very much, Madam Carol, again for that question. So if I may begin with the popular initiative, once a person or a group of people have a bill or something that they want amended, the first step they will do is to collect signatures. They will, write the bill or the question that they have and then collect 1 million and above signatures. So the first responsibility of the commission would be to verify that that particular bill is supported by not less than 1 million people who are registered voters. Once the commission is satisfied that the people who support this bill are over 1 million, then it will forward that bill to the county assemblies. And the county assemblies will have their time. I think there's a time given to them, 90 days, to go through the bills. If more than half of those county assemblies pass the bill, it will then come to Parliament. And they will have also their say, both houses of Parliament. Once they have their say, regardless of which direction it takes, then the decision that they make, let me revise that statement of regardless. If it is a matter that can be settled at the National Assembly and it is passed by the majority, then it settles there. But if it is a matter that, again, is protected, it has to come to the Commission. But if both houses of Parliament do not pass it, it still comes to the Commission. And now the Commission will formulate a question and carry out a referendum.
And what about parliamentary initiative?
So parliamentary initiative, a member of Parliament can draft a bill for the amendment of the Constitution. And again, if that bill touches on the protected clauses of the Constitution, it will find its way to the Commission. So Parliament will have to go through it, make a decision whichever way, but it has got to pass a given threshold. Once Parliament passes it and it is protected, it then comes to the Commission. But if Parliament does not pass it and it was a parliamentary initiative, then it dies at that particular point.
All right. Thank you very much. I wish you well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And invite 𝐒𝐤𝐤𝐬 to ask some questions. 𝐒𝐤𝐤𝐤, please.
Thank you, Chair. 𝐒𝐤𝐤𝐿.
Yes, Madam.
Clearly, from the responses that you are giving, and also from what you have told us about your almost 13 years of experience in IEBC, you do have a very good grasp of electoral matters. So what I want to ask you is more of a practical question based on your own practical experience, and which would be quite useful should you become a member of the IEBC. So from this experience you have, which of your key stakeholders pose the biggest threat to credible, transparent, professionally conducted, free and fair elections? Why and how? You can describe why and how if you don't feel comfortable mentioning the stakeholder, but you can just tell us what are the practical hurdles that if they were removed, we would have actually a transparent and credible election that is posed, that comes directly from one of your key stakeholders.
Thank you. Thank you, Daktari, for that question. I think, like you said, stakeholders are very, very critical in our electoral processes, and especially in terms of acceptability and believability of our election results. From where I sit, one of the key stakeholders that really is key in the electoral process, and of course would be the biggest threat, depending on which direction the election goes, will be the politicians. It could be candidates that were sponsored by political parties, or it could be independent candidates.
How? Just tell us.
Yes.
Just tell us the next level.
Yes. So basically,
how do they do that?
Elections are very contentious in this country, and the stakes are normally very high. And because of this, the electoral system which we adopted, the winner takes all. Nobody is prepared to lose an election. And because of that stake and the kind of investment that people put in an election, everybody expects to win. Unfortunately, not everybody can win. And therefore, they would want to have it go their way, even when it is not possible for it to go their way. So they would always have to find a way of seeing that things work out, and sometimes it doesn't work out.
So now, if you become a member of IEBC, how are you going to help Kenya deal with that problem?
Thank you, Dr. We will have to take this aspect of stakeholder engagement a notch higher. One of the greatest problems I believe we have as a commission and as a country is trust deficit in the IEBC. And I personally propose that we need to have very regular engagements, either with PPLC, political parties, with candidates, and with the commission. And in this case, we need to also take care of those people who may not have succeeded to get elected either to parliament or to being members of the commission. We need to continuously engage.
Yes, but how do we take care of them? I am liking the way you are moving, so we want to find a solution. So now those people who have not succeeded, how do we take care of them so that they accept the results and they leave the winners to work peacefully for the next 5 years?
Yes, it takes me back to, because I'm assuming most of the candidates we have are political party sponsored candidates. So we need to have regular engagements with the organs of the party for them to also help the commission communicate to their members that in this contest we are either going to win or lose. If we partner with the leadership of political parties, right from the top all the way to the grassroots, is going to be of great help. So the Office of Registrar of Political Parties is critical because that is the office that basically regulates the conduct and the affairs of the political parties. So for me, we work with political party leaders, we work with the structures on the ground, but we also involve other stakeholders so that we can be able to particularly convince, especially the political leaders who lose, that we can live to fight another day.
Thank you very much, Kipruto, and I wish you all the best. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I want to ask FCP to ask you some questions. FCP, please.
Thank you, Chair. Silas, you've told my colleague that the biggest threat is politicians. So how has the Constitution protected you as IEBC from these politicians? There are certain mechanisms that the Constitution has protected IEBC. If you look at Article 250, Article 251, there are mechanisms that has been provided to protect you now from these politicians. Kindly mention at least 3 of those mechanisms.
Thank you. Thank you, FCP Tanui. Indeed, you're right that the Constitution has provided mechanisms to protect the IEBC. And like you have indicated in Article, I think, 249, it talks about that when the commission, or rather all commissions, when they are conducting their businesses, they are not to be subjected under direction or control of any authority or any person. So there is that decisional independence in terms of carrying out our responsibilities as a commission. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, you will also notice that I think there's an article, I may not be very accurate about it, but it should be Article 84, which talks about requiring of every candidate at every election to comply with the code of conduct that has been prepared by the IEBC. So there is a code of conduct which every candidate, let me just use the word candidate because we have independent and the rest, that element of compliance with the code of conduct protects the commission in a way because it then takes the responsibility to the person who is running for election. That there are certain rules, there are certain mechanisms that I must be able to comply with. Otherwise, I will be sanctioned and I can actually be removed from the contest. The other one, of course, is the financial independence, which I know we may not really be there as yet, but the Constitution has also mandated Parliament to ensure that they give the Commission enough resources so that they're able to carry out their activities without really looking to the sides and wondering, what are we going to do?
And if the politicians want to remove you, what protection mechanism are there?
There is security of tenure that is given to the commissioners. You don't just wake up one day and say, it's time for you to leave. There has to be a reason that is constitutional, a reason that is legal. Either there has been gross misconduct, either there has been a violation of the Constitution, or somebody is incapacitated. Then there is a process in which that person still has to be removed by the formation of a tribunal and things like that. So there is that element of security of tenure, which enables the commission to be able to conduct its affairs without really fearing that if I make this decision, then I will be removed the following day.
Yeah, earlier on you talked about financial independence, but it's like you aren't sure whether that is there. But there is a provision in the Constitution that in a way gives the commission some financial independence. What is that provision?
That provision should be 249(3), which talks about Parliament shall appropriate enough resources or finances to the Independent Commission for the carrying out of its functions.
Yes.
And then in the IEBC, yes?
No, yeah, continue. There is something there you've not said.
There's something in that sentence?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe
that has an element of financial independence.
Okay. Maybe I'm not able to recollect it for now.
Yeah, there is something known as separate vote.
Yeah, separate
vote. That
yes.
in itself is an element of independence. Now, lastly, you're already in IEBC, but assuming you become a commissioner, and I believe you appreciate how IEBC now is operating, what 4 urgent actions would you take in your first 6 months if appointed?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, FCPA Tanui. The thing that comes to my mind very quickly as number 1 is restoration of public trust. There are so many very good things that I believe myself and those of us in IEBC are doing, but maybe we are not communicating about them. And so I will desire that as one of my first wins in the commission is to win the confidence of Kenyans by strategic communication. The second element which I would look at in the next 6 months and going forward is the whole subject of voter registration. The Constitution requires that we conduct continuous voter registration. As things are right now, there is very little going on with respect to that constitutional mandate. And I keep asking myself, is it right that a constitutional mandate like that can be suspended for this long? One, because of the absence of commissioners, but secondly, because of lack of resources. So I would like us to address that question of continuous voter registration so that we give Kenyans opportunity and we begin to prepare ourselves for the conduct of the 2027 elections. So voter registration and several strategies that I can bring there. We begin to see whether we can even employ technology. I know in the next 6 months, it might be a tall order, but I look at the way we, for example, apply for passports, using eCitizen, and then you only present yourself for the taking of fingerprints. The many, many young people here who are not yet registered, I'm sure they'll be very interested in something that makes it very easy for them to register. But of course, there has to be some few legal issues with regards to that. So voter registration is one strategy that I will look at. I will also look at the question of voter education, targeting the various groups that are there. And finally, election security. is something I'm very passionate about.
Thank you, Silas. I wish you well, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I invite Ms. Sati to ask you some questions. Evans, please.
Thanks so much, Chair. Cyrus, now that you have all the information, I'm wondering what to do now. I want to take you to further education. Now that you guys have been very busy, you have not been doing further education. We can do some further education now for Kenyans who are watching. Now, from where you sit, the Director of Offences, please mention to the panel and Kenyans who are watching some of the three election offences. And then, once you have done that, at what period do such actions become an electoral offense? Is it the entire period, or is only during a certain period that IEBC puts?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Sati, for that question. Indeed, we have several election offenses that can be done by a voter, by a candidate, by an election official, even by the commissioners themselves. And just to mention three of them, there is an offense which we call personation. There is an offense which relates to messing up the register of voters, like tearing it up, throwing it, and doing all those kind of things. There's also an offense that relates to public officers engaging themselves in political issues, and when that, of course, is not required. And then there is an offense of bribery. We used to have another offense called treating, but I think the political class decided to remove it. So now they can treat voters and it is not considered an offense anymore. But bribery indeed is an election offense. Now you have asked what period are these offenses considered election offense? It's my submission, Chairman, that once the chairman of the commission has issued a gazette notice declaring the electioneering period, giving the dates and the calendar of events of when nominations will take place, campaigns, registration of candidates, and of course, eventually the conduct of elections. That whole period, if somebody was to get themselves in an offense that is related to election, then it should be treated as an election offense. Like in the last election, it was from the 20th of January all the way to the 9th of August.
So anything of the same outside that period is not an offense. But you realize that in Kenya, campaigns start maybe a year or 2 years towards that. So all these things happening, even if they fall, or their actions that can be an election offense during the period when the chairman has gazetted, they are not election offenses.
Yeah, that is the dilemma that we have. And maybe the lawyers can help us here, but there are instances when we have tried to employ the whole concept of election offense outside that gazetted period, and people have argued that no election has been gazetted. So why are you saying this is an election offense? So it is treated as other offenses, maybe from the other laws that are there, but it's difficult to classify them as election offenses.
It's okay. From where you stand, is there an official period for, apart from that gazetted period, when Kenyans or candidates, if we finish the 2027 elections and that Tuesday, if somebody starts on Wednesday to campaign, he can continue until the other 2032. So IEBC has no mandate and legal on that.
Thank you, Evans. Those activities which people do normally outside that gazetted period, they say they are not campaigning. They are just meeting the people and greeting them and, doing things. They don't consider it campaigns. That is how they argue. And therefore, it ties really the hands of the commission in terms of how do you then apprehend people and prosecute and those kind of things, because they are actually outside the official campaign period. So they say they are meeting the people.
Lastly, for me, that I'm sure it affects the campaign financing bill. It's under the same dilemma that IEBC will be from where you sit.
Yeah, the Election Campaign Financing Act, which is supposed to be in force, is actually affected by those kind of activities, like you have said, because then it's difficult to monitor the activities that politicians are engaged in outside the election period. If this act was in force, it would most likely mean that it is applicable during the election period, if it was in force. And therefore, it would mean actually, if people are engaged in campaigns outside the election period, it again poses a dilemma. But Mr. Misati, I think what you are raising is important, and I'm sure the Commission and the other stakeholders would be interested to see how do we cure any mischief, just in case somebody was to say, I'm doing this and there's no campaign. How can that be cured?
Thanks so much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. I invite Fatuma to ask some questions. Fatuma, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Rutich,
Yes, Fatuma.
why do you consider citizen participation a critical matter in the election process, especially in our context in Kenya?
Thank you. Thank you, Fatuma, for that question. Citizen participation is very critical because it gives legitimacy to our elections. If we are doing our own businesses without public participation or citizen participation, then our elections lack legitimacy. And of course, one of the principles of our electoral system is what they call universal suffrage, having as many people of the majority age participate in the conduct of elections. And therefore, to give it legitimacy, it would be necessary to have as many of them as possible participate in that process. I was going through the register that the number of voters we registered in the last election, 22,120,468. And I looked at the percentage of participation of, for example, the youth. It is not so bad, but it is not the best. We still need to be able to do more to ensure that they participate in elections, and not just in registration, but they also participate in contesting for those elections.
You've mentioned that it provides legitimacy.
Yes.
What else does it do?
Citizen participation also gives our elections credibility. Our elections then is also transparent when we have citizens participate. And of course, by the end of the day, we get the leaders that as a country we deserve when we have people participate in elections.
What are the specific principles that guide this participation? Just give me like 3 main principles that guide citizen participation or even stakeholder engagement.
The first principle, thank you so much again, Fatuma. What should guide citizen participation or stakeholder engagement is the whole concept of inclusivity. We want all stakeholders included in our electoral processes, whether it is the special interest groups, whether it is the overall voting population, the citizens in general, whether it is the state or non-state actors. We want them involved. The second principle is about what interest does this particular group have, or what stake do they have? So we map them or segment the stakeholders based on the interest they have, based on the contribution that they make in the process of election. And of course, finally, we have the whole concept of having clarity in terms of the messages that we bring out to the stakeholders. But we must have a structured way in which we have either it is MOUs that guide the process in which these stakeholders are classified and then brought on board in our election processes.
Thank you very much, and I wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Invite Nicodemus, please, Bori.
Thank you, Chairman. Rutichu, you are currently the County Elections Board Manager for Nakuru and Nandi?
I am now based in Nandi County.
In Nandi County.
Yes.
And you must, from what we have discussed and heard you talk, you have vast experience in conducting of elections.
That's
in your
correct.
opinion, how effective is our current election system? And what recommendations will you give towards making it more effective, more efficient, and cheap?
Thank you very much. I want to believe that I've understood you to mean that we are talking about the electoral system which we are using as a country, which is the first past the post, and therefore how effective is it? This is a very serious debate, Mr. Chairman, about the electoral system which we have given ourselves as a country. It is this system that makes our elections extremely competitive, because somebody who loses even by 3 votes just goes home like that. There's nothing to comfort yourself and make yourself feel like I actually worked very hard. So I think the whole system of first past the post is not good for a society like Kenya. And we have been on it for the longest period, and I think the jury is out there in terms of how best it is working for us. But if you look at what we are doing to for example, fill the 2/3 gender rule, where we are having party lists and gender top-ups and those kind of things, there is very little noise because we are using proportional representation to be able to fill those positions. So for me, first past the post is the reason why our elections are very expensive. The elections in Kenya are extremely expensive because we cannot afford to make a mistake, even on simple things like ballot papers. We have to put in so many security features. We have to even talk about having very many polling stations, which is a serious cost driver. By the end of the day, if you look at other jurisdictions, when I was in South Africa during that course, I was able to observe the municipal elections, which were taking place in that country. And I discovered that you wouldn't even tell that there is an election going on because there they elect political parties. They don't use very complicated materials like us. And that in itself makes the whole concept of elections very cheap. In our home country, we cannot even trust printing ballot papers here in Nairobi. And that is because of the system of elections that we have adopted. Going forward, I don't know when, but I think at whatever level, when the country
to our Muslim brothers and friends,